Hello everyone, thank you so much for joining us on yet another exciting episode of The FIZ Show. We're here at AfricaWorks and I'm being joined by Savior Mwambwa, who is the Program Manager at Open Society Foundations. Mr. Savior, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me here.
Okay, I'm just going to ask you to talk a little bit about yourself so that maybe the audience can get to know who Savior is.
No, thanks, Vivian. My name is Savior Mwambwa. I'm a program manager at philanthropy, or a foundation called Open Societies Foundation. I work on finance, development finance, industrial policy issues, and currently I'm based in Zambia. Sorry, I'm based in New York. I'm Zambian, so you can see that Zambia is still on my mind.
Yeah, okay, thank you so much. So what is the significance of the alternative Mining Indaba to Zambia and Africa as a whole?
Well, as you may be familiar, the alternative Mining Indaba, which is held every year now for a couple of years, brings together a number of stakeholders that are working in the mining sector, precisely the mining companies themselves, the investors, and the governments and countries that obviously own a lot of these minerals that these mining investors go to exploit. And that, as well as other sector communities are involved as well because they're affected, and NGOs. So the Indaba basically seeks to have some regular discourse or regular discussion of how best, on one hand, how best countries can sort of take advantage and benefit from their mineral resources, and on one hand, how mining companies can contribute as well, and how can governments, for example, create environments in which there's coexistence of the mining exploitation itself, like the minerals being mined, versus benefits to communities as well. So as you know from Zambia and other countries' experience, a number of issues, some of them have been settled, others are still contentious. So I think the Indaba seeks to continue that kind of discussion and conversation around everything affecting mining in our countries.
Well, thank you so much for those insights. And what do you think are the main issues that are being discussed?
So we can spend the whole day breaking this down, but I'll try to summarize. The main issue really is the dissatisfaction, like for countries that own minerals, developing countries, African countries like Zambia and others. I think the communities and the citizens and the governments themselves feel like they are not getting as much benefits as they should be getting from the minerals that they own, in form of maybe tax revenue that they should be getting, or in form of the jobs that should be created in the local communities. And also because most of the mining operations are also, they leave quite a lot of waste, natural waste for the environment, such that sometimes it can take years to clean that up in terms of pollution. So I think it's really how do you maximize the benefits of mining to everybody. That's one area of the issues. The other type of issues are from the investor side. So investors also sometimes tend to complain about countries not having in place conducive policies, like their tax regime are too restrictive, or the business environment is not friendly, which means they can't attract investment in this. And of course, we have communities themselves who have their own specific issues, right? We see from Zambia and South Africa around some of the environmental problems that mining has, including lack of sufficient jobs, like the quality of jobs is not the type that can really put disposable income in people's livelihood. So there's a whole range from corporate social responsibility, environmental issues, to the actual benefits in terms of beneficiation, and then also value addition. Africa, and Zambia specifically, has been exporting raw materials for a long time without sort of processing them enough, so they're more valuable, they're getting more revenue from them. But also what to do when you process your products and don't just export raw materials, that it adds to job creation, because you stimulate other industries locally. You need people to work in the other stages of production or processing. So I think one key question is that how do countries like Zambia move from just exporting raw copper to processing some of it locally so it can contribute to jobs? Yeah, so those would be some of the big issues under discussion. And of course now we have climate. The climate is a big thing now as well, so it is also on the agenda.
Yeah, those are definitely some key topics that have to be looked at, and we're really glad that they're being discussed. Now I'm going to ask on how countries like Zambia benefit from their mining after many years of mining. How does Zambia benefit? So
after mining for so long, I think there's no reason why countries like Zambia should not learn lessons, right, and sort of change the way we engage with our own natural resources, but also the way we engage with other stakeholders like investors. So number one, I think we need to have a bit more agency as a country. By that, I mean we need to take charge. Like those resources are our resources, so we need to make sure we're investing in our own people, in human capital. We are training our own Zambians to be not just mining engineers, but also business managers who can run these mines. We should also need to understand the extent of the resource, like how much copper or how much minerals do we have across the country. We need to invest in mapping capacity, data generation, so that we know what we have. So that even as we're negotiating with the mining companies, we are really negotiating from the point of knowledge in terms of the full value of that. So that's a human capital need, improving our own capacity to manage these things. Secondly, I think even though Zambia is a free market economy, right now we need to make sure that our agenda for industrialization is really being driven by the state, where we cannot just fold our hands back and let private sector take over everything. I'm not talking about government owning companies. I'm saying the government should set an agenda for how we want to grow jobs. We need like a developmental state approach where governments themselves really have a clear vision, a long-term vision of how they want mining to contribute to the longer-term development objectives of the country, including job creation, including using mining as a stepping stone to improve our value chain, so that we're not just exporting raw materials. Like, for example, what will be in 30 years, what will be the main drivers of our economies? It probably won't be mining, right? Maybe it will be in 100 years or 40 years, it will be something else. So we need to be preparing our young people to have skills in those other sort of more emerging technology, and even if they're mining related, but we need to move a bit up the value chain. So I think that larger vision is needed. And then you have a platform to which to engage investors and other players who want to take part in the mining sector. Right now, I think most countries are reactive. They respond, they're a passive recipient of whatever demands are coming from outside. And I don't expect any government to go out and begging when they own the resource, right? Right now, the critical minerals are the ones that are sort of the next on the frontier of the electric vehicle discussion, for example, or the just transition for energy. So I think there's a way that our country, not just government, but the citizens should be interested in knowing what opportunities exist for them to participate, and not have these opportunities pass the locals by while everybody else is benefiting.
Definitely, like opportunities have to be given to the local people. Now, Mr. Mwambwa, you are the programs manager in the USA. On a final note, what do you think the recent developments in the US in terms of their cutting aid mean for African countries and Zambia in particular?
Yeah, I think we should be paying attention to what's happening outside and specifically in the US with the recent policy changes around the development assistance. Definitely, countries like Zambia and other African countries will be affected. In the short term, they'll be affected negatively because a number of them depend on some of that aid, especially in the health sector. I think for me, we should see like any tragedy or any like crisis, you also have to see an opportunity inherent in that. So I think we should flip our mindset and see this as an opportunity for us to reflect back on how we can really take charge of our own affairs and be independent and stop depending on other people to deal with our basic essentials, right? Like health is a basic essential. It's like in your home. You can't have your neighbor taking care of your food and everything else and you're dependent. It means, you're vulnerable. So I think this is an opportunity for African countries and Zambia indeed to really ramp up other creative ideas of using our own local resources, using the money that we already have more efficiently, avoiding wastages, for example. But also that's more reason why we have to think about how we want mining, for example, as an asset that we have to play in that transformation. We need to create more jobs for our young people. More jobs means more disposable income. More disposable income, it means the economy can grow. But also we need to invest in education and human capital, because the more educated young people you have, the healthier they're likely to be. And the healthier your population, the less budget you need to spend on health, on dealing with So I think there's certain things which are related to each other, which are not either or. We have to pursue them at the same time. We have to pursue economic growth, economic policies, trade policies, but also have to pursue social policies that guarantee that we have human capital formation. Like we need a Zambian population that is fit, that is capable of competing in the future, in the current moments, because we're competitive as well in this world. So I think those are some of the things that we could focus on and have a national consensus. We should not leave these things to politicians. like everybody must be interested to share your views, to share your thoughts, and have like a national consensus of what is that larger vision, long-term 30-year vision that we want for the country. And then regardless of the party which comes to power, there are certain things that we should agree on, and they should be consistently pursued even if the parties change, right? Because the other problem is that this lack of consistency. Whenever a new political party comes to power, then it's like you erase whatever was before, even if some of them are good things, and you start afresh again. So you can't make meaningful progress like that.
No, Mr. Savior, thank you so much. It has been such a pleasure having you on the FIZ show. Thank you and wishing you all the best.
Thank you. The pleasure was mine, yeah.
Thank you.